from 2006. Did you see it? Diving Bell. Called The Diving Bell and the Butterfly. It's based like this. So it's based on a book which was written by this man. He was a French magazine editor, and he was in his early 40s. And he suffered a stroke. And he couldn't. He was rendered. He could hear and see perfectly, but the only part of his body that could move was his left eyelid. So that's all he could do was this. And so using that eyelid, with the help of nurses who put a chart of the alphabet, they would go A, B, C, D, E, and when they got to the letter that he wanted, he would blink, and they would write down that letter. Mm-hmm. And through that process, he wrote an entire book, which is called The Diving Bell and the Butterfly, which is about the feeling of being trapped in your body, like with a stroke. And I immediately thought of that movie when, during the portion of the documentary, when we were talking about young girl, because they're also talking about AI. However, the difference is that this is hugely more efficient and like helpful than what the man did.
I mean, there are attempts. I mean, we're not there yet, but this is like you saw she was like in pain, and so when she could, they would do that, and it's doable, I guess.
Yeah, no, and all of the different medical, like that last part about education, like that was a little different.
That education part was
but it didn't really, like, I like to think about it, and what I really liked about it is that it showed you in specific ways how this technology, how artificial intelligence can be put to use in a variety of ways, right? Like beyond just research and stuff, which is what I think the average person tends to think about. They're like, oh, they can use artificial intelligence to research cancer, for example, or something like that. But in the documentary, we get like different examples of how it can be used.
right, reduce depression and yeah.
Do you think that those things are going to advance because we're just
They're
basically
100% advancing way too fast, faster than we think, and that's why I think we, the students need to catch up. The curriculum, the teaching, like they were saying in the end, the computer literacy has to be involved in undergrad and grad school so that we catch up. Otherwise, there's this huge gap between the technology being there and people understanding how to use or control the technology.
So you see like a potential gap between, let's say, someone who goes to medical school and is a neurologist, specialized neurologist, and by the time they graduate, and by the time the technology has gotten so advanced that it's far beyond what they learned in school.
We don't catch up again. No.
Do you see any downside at all to? Because I was thinking about this, like during the movie when it comes to AI in medicine, and they gave us so many different examples. Like, do you personally see any downsides, like in broad, big picture terms?
You know, one person in the video you showed was in the foundation against AI, right? So I'm sure there are all sorts of concerns. Like we don't want to lose our humanity. And this woman was saying, I need to talk to humans.
Right.
So yeah, we need to balance for sure, and we have to be aware of all of these things evolving, and nobody knows the answer. So we just have to be adaptive and make the right decisions.
Yeah, maybe doctors will have to go back. They're like AI medical school. I want to open it up to questions from you guys for the professor. Just raise your hand and I'll walk over.
So how are you changing medical school now, today, and where do you see it in the future? So when you're saying that you're introducing AI, I can see that you're introducing that they can use a diagnostic tool, but are you teaching your students programming, or are you teaching in the background because somebody has to program these systems in terms of medical problems? And I also see that you can use it in terms of an assistant. So not just in replacement of a physician, but if you have a pathologist, you'll have another AI saying, listen, you looked at these slides and you said there's no, for instance, cancer, and there's a good probability that there is.
Yeah, very good question. So we at the Miller School, we do not have AI curriculum as of yet. We have some research activities going on. I know Duke, for example, they have courses that they introduce and they're online, and people can even see them, use them as a model. So they have an AI course that is basic, and another one is more into programming for people who have some knowledge in coding. So it can be given at two different levels. One is like basic, understand the concepts of how AI is working, and another one that you're really involved in the coding process. So we don't have it yet at and so many other schools, but some schools are already integrated.
And what are your plans?
I mean, I would love to. I would. There is the school. The deans are all about including AI, but it's a process. Changing curricula is a huge process.
You were talking about security and all kinds of problems about AI, for example, bias and other problems like that. And the question is whether installing AI, which I'm demonstrating to you, that is a machine that I wear now, that it is, we are going to install AI on it, that is called local host off the grid, which means, I explained it to Ali earlier, that you can run AI on a local device. That means on my head in this case, or on a phone. This is a reduced model, so it's not a large language model, it's a small language model, but it does, since it has to ingest only a limited amount of information, it can handle it just like a large language model, and the advantage is that you can close it from the internet. So, for example, if you are doing some experiment, and you don't want other people to have access to that, that will work on a local host, which means off the internet. And it also has the capability to interact with the internet, but it is under your control. So it has a SIM card, and it can use TCP/IP, which is the regular internet, Wi-Fi, and so on. The question is, will it help deal with some of the problems that you are concerned about, and especially when you do an experiment with your hand and you are busy with the mice or those people, you can at the same time record it and use it later on to. Will it help you deal with some of the shortcomings of AI, including hallucinations and so on, because you can control the model a lot more than if it is a large language model like anyone. The question is, would you be interested in using and testing something like that?
Let's say we'll be interested in seeing it and testing it or piloting it to see if in what setting it can be useful. It sounds like it is useful. I don't know much about what this technology, but maybe a short term.
In the title of the institute, there is the term stem cell. So, it hasn't been addressed. Can you talk about advances in stem cell therapy?
My lab is in the Stem Cell Institute, correct. The research that I showed did not involve stem cells, nor did the video that was broadcasted. So has AI been applied to stem cells? Not that I'm aware of. I mean, it could be in terms of data, like we were saying, you feed the algorithm, like one of the studies that was going on in the Stem Cell Institute, why do some people respond better than others when they receive stem cells? And a study was done based on their genetics, like if they have some mutations or not. This could hinder them from accepting, but that's like one angle, right? So I could envision that in the future, a study showing why stem cells work in some people versus others would include so many other kinds of input to train the algorithm to predict. But I haven't seen such a study. No. Did that answer your question? No.
So I have a question about the study you described earlier, where you first studied some slices tissue from mice. Obviously, you mentioned
From the lungs, yeah.
Yes, from the lungs, and then you did this respiration. You used the respiration machine, and then you used it to predict. Based. My question is, usually you need a lot of data
Right.
to train a model, to train machine learning or AI, and you're talking about some studies in your lab. How many mice did you have, or did you access other collaborators' data, or how much data did you need to train?
Right, so what I showed you worked nicely in the mouse because the mouse is very easy to cure. The mouse, or to predict actually, because you have all the mice, same gender, same age, in the cage, living happily, same food, same water. There are no complexities like the human, the genetics, the psychology, the social determinants of health. So that's why it worked. But what we saw on the video, which was very nice, the woman was doing this test with the inhaler, and that was combined with so many other data on the app to predict if she's getting an infection or not. So to your point, yeah, it's been done with many more data as needed, yeah.
Any other questions?
Hi, thank you for being here. I can see very clearly how the diagnostics and the interpretation of data is just fabulous, very much faster. My question has to do with kind of like when they talk about the proteins and training proteins and training cells and developing new cells to do things like cure cancer. Because I know that's already happening. They actually take out your cells, separate, parts of the cell, inject them with other things. They literally they change your cells, and then they put that back into your bloodstream, and it's like you have new cells that are now doing different things that they were trained and actually developed for you to do certain things. That kind of thing fascinating.
You're welcome. So what you're referring to is some amazing successes in science where it's been working in sickle cell disease and also with cancer and CAR T cells, where, like you mentioned, the patient's cells are taken out, grown in the dish, injected with either gene therapy or have them express an antigen and then give them back to the same patient their own cells, so they're not going to reject them, and now those cells go and fight the cancer. So that's not AI per se in that particular experiment, but who says there won't be advances in predicting who, because not all patients benefit from this therapy. So maybe AI will be used to predict which patients can benefit or